Welcome back to the Fertility Freak Podcast, where we help couples who are struggling to get pregnant to unblock their fertility so they can start the family of their dreams. I'm Michelle Tillman, your fertility educator and expert. I've helped over a dozen women get pregnant despite being told that they couldn't. I've worked with women who are battling fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, blocked tubes, recurrent miscarriages, low egg count, male factor infertility, and unexplained infertility. And guess what? They still got pregnant. And so today we are tackling a big question. Should you keep trying naturally, or is it time for you to move on to fertility treatments? There's not really like a one-size-fits-all answer. So I know like this decision can feel super overwhelming, whether you're going to consider IVF, an IUI, medicated cycles, or whether you're going to choose holistic treatments. How do you know if the plan is right for you? Well, by the end of this episode, you're going to have clarity on the pros and cons of medical fertility treatments, the power of natural conception strategies, and then key factors to help you decide which path is right for you to take. So if you're feeling stuck or unsure about your next step, just keep listening. This episode is definitely for you. If you're deciding whether to keep trying naturally or go the medical route, sometimes it can feel like you're standing at a crossroads and you don't have any signs coming in. You don't know which way to go. And so you might be wondering, like, am I wasting my time by trying naturally? Should I just go straight to IVF? Or maybe you're thinking, what if I spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on these medical treatments and then it doesn't even work? So, sis, I get it. I have been there and I've worked with women in your exact shoes. So today we're going to break it all the way down, the pros, the cons, real success rates, and how do you know when it's time for you to switch gears? By the end of this episode, you're going to have a clearer path forward. So whether that means you're maximizing your natural fertility or exploring the right treatment options for you. So let's start by breaking down the two major paths to pregnancy. So the first is medical treatments. But if you're going to consider these things, you need to understand exactly what you're signing up for. So there's fertility treatments that are like mild interventions, like ovulation-inducing medications, to more advanced procedures, more like IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. So I'm going to go through them one by one. First, ovulation-inducing medications. So these are for women who aren't ovulating regularly, or maybe you need a boost in egg production. So some of the most common medications that are often used are Clomid. It's a pill that stimulates your ovaries to release one or more eggs, and it's usually taken for 5 days early on in your cycle. Then there's letrozole, which was originally actually a breast cancer drug, but studies show it's actually more effective than Clomid for women with PCOS. And then you have gonadotropins, which are injectable hormones. These are much stronger medications that directly stimulate egg production. So what you need to know, these are usually beneficial for women who have PCOS, irregular cycles, or unexplained infertility. And they're often used before someone moves to an IUI or IVF. Now, here's the thing you got to know about this. There is a risk that you will have a multiple pregnancy. Okay, so that means you could have twins, you could have triplets, you could have quadruplets. Some of y'all want that. But if you don't, you do need to be aware of that. And the thing about this is that it also doesn't fix any underlying issues. It just forces ovulation. Okay. So the second treatment that I kind of want to walk you through is called an IUI, which is an intrauterine insemination. And people kind of know this as the step before IVF. And this is usually best for couples who might have like a mild male factor infertility, unexplained infertility, or if you have like a cervical mucus issue. Okay, so let me break down the IUI. In this treatment, the fertility treatment squashes the sperm that's concentrated, and it places it directly into your uterus around your ovulation time. So sometimes you can either track your ovulation naturally, or like those ovulation medications that we talked about before, you can take those and then it'll ensure a strong egg release. So then your partner or your husband's sperm is washed and prepared in a lab so it can increase the chances of the most healthy sperm. And so a doctor is going to then insert the sperm directly into your uterus using a thin catheter, which this increases the chance of fertilization. So usually the success rates for these are 10 to 20% per cycle. But it can be even higher if you use an ovulation medication. And this actually works best if your fallopian tubes are open and your husband or partner has decent sperm quality. Okay, this is not effective if you are dealing with blocked tubes or severe male infertility, or if you have a very low ovarian reserve. So, what you should consider is this is a little bit less invasive and significantly cheaper than IVF because it costs about $500 to $2,000 per cycle, but it can also be combined with other fertility medications for better chances. The only thing, it does have a lower success rate than IVF. So, speaking of IVF, let's talk about that. This is what, fertility doctors consider the gold standard. And IVF is best for women. Typically, what your doctor will say is for blocked tubes, severe male factor infertility, endometriosis, or low egg count. Okay, so IVF is actually a multi-step process that involves retrieving eggs, fertilizing them in a lab, and then transferring an embryo into your uterus. So it is the most effective fertility treatment, but it's also the most invasive. So I'm going to break it down. This is all the steps. This is how IVF works. So first, you have ovarian stimulation. So you're going to take daily hormone injections, 10 to 14 days to grow multiple eggs. Then you have your egg retrieval. And once the eggs are mature, a doctor removes them in a short surgical procedure. Then you have the fertilization, where the eggs are fertilized with sperm in a lab. It can be either naturally or via ICSI, which is intracolap. I'm always saying this wrong. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Let me say that again. Fertilization. The eggs are fertilized with sperm in a lab, either naturally or via ICSI, which is intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where a sperm is injected directly into the egg. Okay, so then the next step is embryo culture and testing. And the fertilized eggs usually grow in a lab for 3 to 5 days. And some couples at that point also get genetic testing done so they can select the most healthy embryo. Then you have your actual embryo transfer, which is a high quality embryo transferred into your uterus. And then you have to wait for the 2-week wait, or depending on how far along the embryo is, before you can test for pregnancy. Okay, so let's talk about the success rates for IVF per cycle. So it's usually about 50 to 60% for women who are under 35, 20 to 40% for women who are over 35, and 5 to 10% for women who are over 40, unless they're using donor eggs. But what you want to consider is that this may be the best option for you, that your doctor may recommend if you have blocked tubes, low ovarian reserve, or really severe male factor. But it also is good if you want to get the genetic testing done for chromosomal issues. But the cons are that it is super expensive. IVF is going to cost you anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 per cycle, and sometimes it costs more than that. It can actually also be really physically and emotionally demanding because it requires so many injections, procedures, and waiting. So you got to really consider all of that when you're going to go the IVF route. Okay, so another route of fertility treatments that some people do are donor eggs, sperm, or embryos. So your doctor may recommend this if you have a low egg count, genetic conditions, or if you are a non-traditional couple. So sometimes using your own eggs or your own sperm is not an option. So sometimes donor eggs, sperm, or embryos might be the key for some couples on what they decide if they want to have a baby. So the donor eggs are when a woman's egg quality or quantity is too low and the egg is fertilized with sperm and then implanted via IVF. Donor sperm is used in cases of severe male factor. So that way the donor sperm can be used just like with IVF, okay? And then there's donor embryos. I'm sorry, you can also actually use the donor sperm with an IUI. Then there's donor embryos, which is like a completely full donated embryo by another couple who's already had IVF. So maybe they already had the children that they desire and they still have embryos and they donate a whole embryo. So what you need to consider is that the success rates are super high for this because the donors, they have to go through a lot of strict qualifications. They're usually super young, super healthy. And it can be a game changer for women who have low AMH or premature ovarian failure. So the cons, of course, emotional and ethical considerations. So some people struggle with the idea of using donor gametes. So that's something you have to really consider, like using someone else's egg, using someone else's sperm. Like, am I okay with that? Okay. And then the final fertility treatment that you may have heard about or may have not is surrogacy. So this is when you need someone to carry the baby for you. So this is typically for women who can't carry due to medical reasons. So the next one is surrogacy. Surrogacy is when you need a carrier. This is best for women who can't carry due to medical reasons. So with surrogacy, this is often the route for women who have uterine issues like fibroids, scarring, or have had a hysterectomy, or if you have any type of medical condition that might make your pregnancy unsafe. And if you've had multiple pregnancy losses and need another option. So, but what you need to know about this is there's typically an incredibly high success rate because embryos are often tested and transferred into a very healthy uterus. Now, the only thing about this, okay, the cons is extremely expensive. You're going to pay anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000 or more. And then there's the legal and the emotional complexities of having someone else carry your baby. I know you're probably seeing the stories on Lifetime where the mama changed their mind. I mean, it's just so many things that could happen. Okay, right? So we've gone through all the major fertility treatments. So you might be wondering, is this the right path for me? But remember, medical fertility treatments can be life-changing, but they also come with cost, risk, and there's no guarantee. So the key is understanding that when they're truly necessary versus when you still might have time left to explore your natural options. So next, we're going to kind of break down the natural conception strategies, when they work, why they work, and how you can maximize your fertility without jumping straight into the treatments. Okay, so first thing you have to know is that if you're not ready for IVF, that is totally okay. Or if your doctor told you you need IVF, but it's something that you're just not convinced of yet, it's okay. Because maybe you feel like you can do some more before you take that next step. And sis, you're not wrong. There's many women who have conditions like PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, low ovarian reserve, and they can actually optimize their fertility naturally and conceive without medical intervention. So the key, though, is knowing how to work with your body and not against it. So let's get into it step by step. One of the natural conception methods that you have to know is understanding your fertile window. Timing is everything. This is best for couples who are ovulating but not timing intercourse correctly. And can I just say that there are so many women who feel like they are doing everything right. There are so many women who feel like they're doing everything right, but honestly, they are missing the timing every month. You'd be surprised how many women get the timing wrong, completely wrong when they're trying to conceive. Your fertile window is only 5 to 6 days per cycle. But, the most critical time is the 2 days before ovulation and then the day of ovulation. So you have got to find your fertile window. You can track ovulation using your basal body temperature, and they also have, home kits where you can actually track this. I'm not talking about like an ovulation predictor kit, but ones that actually track hormones like progesterone that show that your ovulation occurred because of a progesterone rise, which we talked about this on the last episode. So to track to track your basal body temperature, you have to take your temperature every morning before you get out of bed. Okay. They do have different types of thermometers that don't require you to sit still and not move throughout the night. There's different ones that you can pick from, but as long as you're taking your basal body temperature, you'll be able to see that there is a slight rise in your temperature after ovulation. That's how you know for sure that you ovulated. You also can check your cervical mucus to see that it's egg white cervical mucus, which is feeling slippery when you wet. When you look at the tissue, does it look egg white? Does it feel like egg white texture? Okay. And if you see that, you need to get busy ASAP. Okay. Then you can also use apps like Premom, OVF Flow. But the thing is, you have to know that these apps are only predicting ovulation. And it's predicting it typically based on a 28-day cycle, assuming that most women are going to ovulate on day 14, which is just simply a myth. So don't use an app unless it's one that is tracking your basal body temperature, because literally it's guessing. And so you could be thinking you're doing it right every month and literally doing it wrong every single month. Okay. So the thing about tracking your cycle and understanding your fertility window, this works best with women who have regular cycles. And it is essential that you do this to maximize chances, even if you're doing IUIs or IVF. So the cons about this, though, is that it doesn't necessarily work as well for women with irregular or missing cycles. It doesn't mean it can't work and you can't work it, because I've seen it happen with my own successful clients. But you do have to make sure that you understand and pay attention with those longer or missing cycles. Okay, so another treatment, if you will, for natural conception is changing your nutrition and supplementation, like literally feeding your fertility. This is best for women who have hormonal imbalances, inflammation, or egg quality issues. Let me say this, though. You cannot out-supplement a bad diet, but the right foods and the right nutrients can make a huge difference in your fertility. So you got to know your key nutrients for fertility, like your antioxidants that can be found in berries, dark chocolate, green tea, nuts, your omega-3s. You can get that in salmon and flax seeds and walnuts. Some experts will recommend CoQ10 and ubiquinol. Like you can get those naturally in organ meats, fatty fish, supplements, vitamin D. Really get out in the sun and get your vitamin D, okay? Or you can try supplements. And then iron and B12, which are critical for healthy ovulation, red meat, spinach, eggs, legumes. And so you just have to make sure that you understand that supplementation and eating right boost your overall reproductive health, and it can drastically improve your egg and sperm quality, even in the case of having a low AMH. And AMH is a reflection of your egg count, which we want it to be like a 1.0. So even if your AMH is low, it can be improved with great supplementation and dietary changes. Now, the cons to this, and I tell this to anyone who works with me, you got to understand this part, is that it takes time. Results can take 3 to 6 months to show. So you're saving a whole lot of money, but you have to sacrifice the time and dedication to see the results, okay? And the last method, if you will, for natural conception that I believe is totally essential is having faith. Trust in God when it feels impossible, because it matters, because you got stress and anxiety that can negatively impact your ovulation and implantation. So you got to have the faith to surrender and help shift your nervous system from being in fight or flight to having peace that passes all understanding. And so when you have hope, it changes how we care about our bodies and prepare for pregnancy. I always say, God, put your super on top of my natural. I'm going to do the natural, God. You put your super, put yourself in a position to receive what God has for you. When I was trying to conceive, I had to fight to keep my faith alive. I had prophecies that came and passed and nothing. And I had dreams and visions of my future babies only to be met with another negative test. I even got a prophecy one time that I'd be pregnant before a specific month. That month came, my period showed up instead. And I was devastated. But faith is not about what I see. Faith is about believing even when it looks impossible. So I had to shift my mindset from, why is this happening to me, to God, I don't understand this, but I trust you anyway. So if you're struggling to hold on to faith, let me remind you that God is not done with your story. You are not forgotten. Your journey isn't over. Stay in expectation. Okay. And then the last thing is forgiveness. Women who are struggling with disappointment, if you have fertility trauma, resentment, or you're just spiritually exhausted, you have got to sit down and really take the time out to spend with God and yourself and find out, is there someone who I still have something, even if it's super small, against? Like, because of all this pain and frustration I'm dealing with, that why me, God? I've been there before. It's just important that we are not holding on to anger, bitterness, jealousy. These things create chronic stress in our bodies, because emotional pain can physically manifest in your body. It can disrupt your hormones. Just like if you swallowed a bottle of chemicals, it's the same thing when you swallow down some pain of some issues that you will overlook, or some people who did you wrong and you're still holding on to that. Releasing that past hurt, it allows your body to be receptive and healing. Okay. Uh, that bitterness has got to be let go so that you're not mad at your body, mad at your situation, mad at God. And when you're thinking, I did everything right, God, why am I here? I'm honoring you with my marriage and my body. Like, this is what I get infertility. Like, God, it's me. Like, it's all these other people out here popping, locking, doing stuff in the club, getting toe up and listen, I ain't one to judge, because I used to do all that stuff too, right? But when you clean your life up for God, and then now you have this issue, and you did your dating right, and you found your life partner, your kingdom mate, and then this happens. Like, you got to forgive. And the forgiving might look like forgiving yourself for your past mistakes, forgiving your body because you feel like your body's not working how it should, forgiving people who have said hurtful things to you, especially in regards to your fertility. People say hurtful things in regards to your fertility. You might have to forgive them for telling you, just relax, it'll happen. Well, maybe God didn't call you to be a mom. Like, people say some crazy stuff. Um, but you also got to remember you might have to forgive God. And I know it feels blasphemous, like, oh, what you mean forgive God? But be for real. You can be upset like God. Sometimes we hold silent anger towards him and he knows it. He knows everything. He's omniscient, all knowing, Alpha and Omega. Like he knows every thought that you have. So a part of it is just confessing how you feel and then asking God to help you shift. So sis, when you finally let that forgiveness part go, it's like something will open you up. And just like for me, after I truly forgave, literally 30 days after that is when I got pregnant with my son. So some practical things you really have to do for your faith and forgiveness is making sure you're spending time in the Word, daily scripture, devotionals, read stories of women in the Bible who overcame their barrenness, like Hannah, Sarah, Elizabeth. Meditate on faith-filled scriptures. You know, faith is the substance of all things hoped for. So you got to meditate on this. You got to speak life over your womb. Decree and declare the word of God over your body. My body is capable of carrying a healthy baby. God's timing is perfect and my baby is on the way. Okay, so make sure that you set boundaries for your peace, for your mind, for forgiveness and faith. This is a strategy. In my 4S formula, we walk through this in detail, specifically catered towards you, because it is so important that you understand how faith is a natural conception strategy. Okay. And one of the other natural conception things you can really do is detox. You got to remove those hidden hormone disruptors. This is really good for women with PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, unexplained infertility. Like, did you even know how many toxins are in your everyday products that can throw off your hormones and impact your fertility? A lot of the common ones are plastics, artificial fragrances like your candles, your perfumes, your air fresheners, pesticides, your bug spray, or what they use to spray your house, toxic beauty products. You have to understand that there are easy fertility swaps and you can make these. So try to use glass or stainless steel instead of plastic. Switch to natural beauty and cleaning products. Eat organic and hormone-free foods, filter your tap water, and consider that this will help you improve and balance your egg quality. And it works best when you combine the detoxing with the nutrition and lifestyle changes that we talked about earlier. But here's the con. Here's the con. Just like all natural conception strategies, it takes time. Again, it takes a full 90 days for your egg quality to improve. Okay. So 3 to 6 months is the time frame that you're looking at when you're trying to see results. Okay. So we just covered some of the most powerful natural ways to boost your fertility. And if you're trying naturally, the key is giving your body the tools that it needs with the proper timing, the nutrition, the stress management, the toxin-free environment. But here's the truth. Some women will get pregnant naturally with all these changes, and some may still need some medical help. So I want to break it down for you how to decide if it's time for you to transition from natural methods to medical treatment. And so you can know what's right for you. So let me say this up front. Neither path is better than the other. It's all about what's right for you and your situation. But before you make a decision, this is what you need to know about fertility treatments. They can be life-changing for couples who are dealing with blocked tubes, severe male factor infertility, diminished ovarian reserve, which is low egg count, PCOS, that's not responding to natural remedies, or unexplained infertility that has just gone on for years. So with IVF and IUIs, sperm is placed directly into the uterus to increase the chances of conception. But this only works if your tubes are open and sperm quality is decent. IVF, eggs are retrieved, fertilized in a lab, and an embryo is transferred into the uterus. It's more invasive, more expensive, but also the most effective. So the downsides: IVF can range from 15 to 25K per cycle without guarantees. The emotional and physical strain, the hormone injections, the egg retrieval and waiting game, it can be very intense. And again, it's not always a guarantee. Some women go through multiple cycles without success. I've had clients who chose IVF and it changed their lives. And I've also had others who, they came to me and they said, Michelle, I've already spent $40,000 on IVF and I don't have a baby in my arms. That's why it is crucial to ask yourself, do I need medical intervention or do I have time to explore more natural options? So here's the other side of the coin, the natural conception. But let me clear this up. Natural conception isn't just hoping for the best. It's strategic, it's science-backed, it's proven to work, especially when you're addressing the root cause of the infertility. So who can benefit best from trying naturally first? Women who have PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids. I've even seen blocked tubes who haven't optimized their health yet. So if you also are a couple who might have mild male factor infertility, nothing huge, nothing major, but I will have to say, my husband had major male factor infertility and we still got pregnant naturally. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Anyone who has irregular cycles or isn't tracking your ovulation properly, couples with unexplained infertility, the natural strategies that work are tracking your ovulation with precision, not just using the apps, balancing your hormones with supplements and diet, addressing the inflammation, the gut health, and the nutrient deficiencies, and managing your stress and your emotional blocks because, stress is real. See, I've seen women who are diagnosed with the blocked tubes, low AMH, and been told 0 chance of natural conception, go on and get pregnant by changing their approach. So, but the question is, how do you know if it's time for me to move on from trying naturally? So here's how you're going to know whether it's right for you. I need you to get real with yourself and start asking yourself some critical questions like, how long have I been trying? If it's been less than a year, and you haven't optimized your health, keep trying. If it's been 2+ years with no success, you've been doing everything right, 2 years, and you've been doing everything right now, not doing what you think is right, but you have seek out help and you've done everything they've said naturally, like we discussed earlier, then maybe it might be time for you to consider a medical treatment. Now, it also depends on number 2. What's your diagnosis? Blocked tubes, severe male factor, low ovarian reserve. Your doctor may tell you IVF might be your best bet. Whether you have PCOS, endo, fibroids, or unexplained fertility, there's still like a ton that you can do naturally. And even with blocked tubes, in my 4S protocol, I actually have a protocol for blocked tubes that I have seen work for one of my clients just recently. So it definitely can be treated naturally. Again, it just takes a little bit longer. And then the third thing you need to consider is, can you afford the financial and the emotional costs of the treatment? If IVF isn't financially feasible for you right now, don't lose hope. There's so many natural ways that you can improve your fertility while you're waiting. At the end of the day, there's no wrong choice whether you decide you're going to go the medical route or the natural route. What matters is that you're making an informed decision. All right, sis. So now you have all the tools to make the best choice for you. If this episode spoke to you, I want you to hit subscribe on this podcast because we're just getting started, okay? Screenshot this episode, share it on IG, tag me at Fertility Freak. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you need personalized guidance on your fertility journey, I want you to join us for the complimentary masterclass, the God, Where is My Baby masterclass. You can join this absolutely no cost to you. You can go to my website, fertilityfreak.com, and join us there, or there'll be a link in the show notes. Sis, your miracle is closer than you think. Let's make it happen. Thank you again for tuning in for another episode, and I can't wait to see you next week.